From $40,000 a day to fighting court cases and scrambling for rent, the Island Boys went from viral to a real-time crash nobody could look away from. One poolside freestyle and two spiky haircuts turned Alex and Frankie Venegas into the internet's favorite spectacle until the internet moved on. They could have stabilized, leaned into music, built a brand, and kept the checks coming. Instead, they doubled down on chaos, torched bridges, and turned a meme into a meltdown. The most uncomfortable part? How fast it all happened. Faster than anyone expected, and far uglier than most realize. Stay with this one, because the decisions that pushed them off the cliff didn't come out of nowhere. They were baked in from the start, and what followed shocked even the people who first made them famous. Before the catchphrase and the hair, Alex Flyysoulja and Kodiak Red Venegas were twin brothers from South Florida, trying to survive turbulence that started early. Their father died of a heart attack when they were 5. A loss that left a hole no amount of attention could fill. Their mother kept a roof over their heads, but the twins drifted toward trouble as kids often do when pain meets bad options. Police knew their names. School didn't stick. Juvenile charges piled up. Robbery, burglary, vehicle theft, drugs. The sort of charges that turn into a file thicker than a textbook by the time someone turns 18. According to profiles and interviews over the years, the twins were eventually kicked out of the house as teenagers. A turning point that felt like freedom but functioned like free fall. They bounced between couches, fostered personas tougher than their actual circumstances, and learned early that shock value paid, even if the check was short-term. When the SoundCloud rap look became a uniform, face tattoos, bright hair, chains, the twins copied it like a playbook. Not because it guaranteed talent, but because it guaranteed attention. Social media became the plan. Quick clips, louder outfits, punchier ad-libs. They posted constantly, but the views were inconsistent days of nothing, then a spike, then back to crickets. The lesson most creators learn the hard way is that the algorithm rewards not just novelty, but novelty that keeps scaling. And that requires either genuine artistry or a meme so potent it sells itself. Here's the hook. Both were possible. The twins chose the second. They were charismatic enough to hold a camera and brazen enough to withstand ridicule, which, online, can pass for staying power. In a crowded feed, their look alone bought 3 seconds of curiosity. Their delivery bought 3 more. 6 seconds doesn't build a career, but it can open a door. If they had used that opening to study songwriting, rehearse performance, and partner with people who knew the business, the next chapters might have read very differently. Instead, their earliest instincts court chaos, ignore counsel, monetize shock set the tone. The foundations were shaky long before the money came rushing in. Once it did, the cracks widened. What seemed like a Cinderella story was actually a speed run through the same traps that swallow viral stars every year. And the first trap was the most seductive one of all, mistaking attention for approval. It happened almost by accident. October 2021, a backyard pool, a phone camera, and a chant you can't unhear. I'm an island boy. The clip spread like brush fire across TikTok and then everywhere else. Within days, millions had seen it. Within a week, they were remixing it. Within 2, it was inescapable. You didn't have to like it to remember it, and most didn't. But that's the paradox of meme fame. You don't need love, you need reach. With reach comes Cameo bookings, sponsorship inquiries, and a rush of cash that makes last month's worries look like someone else's life. In interviews, they'd later claim they were suddenly clearing 5 figures per day. Numbers that would intoxicate any 20-something who grew up watching everyone else live the dream. The cultural reaction split along familiar lines. A slice of viewers found it weirdly catchy. A bigger slice found it impossible to escape and deeply annoying. Even Snoop Dogg couldn't resist weighing in with a public roast, turning their meteoric rise into an even bigger joke. But here's the twist most viral stars miss. Being the punchline can be leveraged into longevity if you read the room, pivot the persona, and deliver something undeniably good the second time out. That pivot window is short. Weeks, not months. The twins treated it like a throne instead of a timer. Creators were riffing, duetting, and parodying the chant non-stop. Their social feeds flooded with bookings and shoutouts. The algorithm had decided, these two are the main character today. The smarter move would have been to quietly workshop tighter songs, train for live performance, and hire a team that would tell them hard truths. Instead, they leaned further into the meme without upgrading the product. That choice works on apps where the joke resets every 48 hours. It does not work in music. where stagecraft, breath control, timing, and writing still matter once the lights come up. Their next test would arrive almost immediately, and it would be merciless. Perform for a real crowd that wasn't paid to clap. Spoiler, the crowd answered honestly, and the echo would follow them for years. The nightclub wasn't hostile at first, it was curious, but curiosity fades fast when the speakers come on. At Miami's LV, the Island Boys got their first unfiltered reality check. A wave of booze that started in the back and rolled forward like a storm front. It didn't take a full verse. It barely took a bar. In seconds, the crowd made a call every artist hears at some point. We're not buying this. And the sound of that call is unforgettable. Clips from that night ricocheted across YouTube and Instagram, becoming a parallel meme, not the chant, but the rejection. The twins tried to shrug it off publicly, but a live room is honest in ways the internet never is. Online, you can delete comments. On stage, you either win the room or you don't. That night, they didn't. They doubled down with a full music video, hoping production value would convert skeptics. The opposite happened. Comments scorched, parodies multiplied. But buried under the ridicule was a usable signal. People were engaging, just not the way the twins wanted. That posture plays great on short clips. It's catastrophic in rooms you need to keep. And yet the bookings kept coming for a while because bookings follow buzz, not skill. That mismatch, lots of attention, not enough craft, guarantees one thing. Your next high-profile moment will test you again, and the stakes will be higher. The twins' next test came not from a club, but from a couch, on a podcast known for turning bravado into awkward silence when reality walks in. They took the invite. They brought the bravado. And for a few minutes, it looked like they might charm their way through. They didn't. The moment they heard advice they didn't like, the show didn't just go off the rails, it went viral for all the wrong reasons. In the wake of their blow-up, the twins attracted attention from actual heavyweights. Reports circulated that Kodak Black, a national star with deep Florida roots, had floated the idea of signing them. For many young artists, that's stability, mentorship, and leverage in one package. The twins waved it off. They weren't just independent. They were convinced independence made them untouchable. In later chats, they'd talk about Kodak's interest and even about conversations around image. But the headline remains. They said no to infrastructure that could have helped them grow beyond a meme. In isolation, turning down a deal isn't a sin. Paired with everything else, thin catalog, shaky live game, no seasoned team, it looked less like confidence and more like pride. The antidote is structure. Stash cash, build a product that isn't just a punchline, and surround yourself with people who can tell you no. Instead, the twins entrenched. The takeaway for industry folks watching wasn't these guys are hot. It was these guys are high risk. Bookers can't risk scenes. Labels can't risk liabilities. Brands can't risk blow-ups. Momentum didn't just slow, it started to reverse, and when it did, there was no safety net waiting. The walk-off made a splash. The splash came with a riptide. In the first few months of fame, cash arrives in confusing ways. Cameos, shout-outs, club walkthroughs, short-term brand deals. It feels endless. Then the algorithm picks a new main character, and you learn which streams were durable and which were mirages. For the Island Boys, the answers were brutal. Bookings thinned. The novelty tax came due. Engagement fell. Without a robust live show or radio-ready records to backfill the drop, the ledger started to look like every cautionary thread you've ever seen. The cars, the jewelry, the content houses, those aren't investments. They're monthly obligations. The day you stop being the feed's favorite, those obligations keep billing you at last month's rate, even while this month's income shrinks. There was still money to make. Cameo remained a lever they could pull. But even that has ceilings. Pricing fluctuates, demand softens, and fans who ordered a joke in 2021 don't necessarily reorder the same joke in 2022. Without new hits, viral burners become archival curiosities. More troubling, the twins didn't appear to be building the less glamorous layers that stabilize creators. Touring chops, songwriting camps, catalog pipelines, or partnerships with pros who'd trade a cut of the pie for long-term sustainability. That's not as fun as a 5-figure day off a meme, but it's how you survive the second year. Feuds and flare-ups kept them in the discourse. But discourse isn't revenue unless you can convert it into tickets, streams, or sales. At this point, every decision mattered twice, not just to make a buck today, but to rebuild credibility tomorrow. What came next did the opposite. They chased big viral again, bigger, wilder, More shocking, hoping lightning would strike the same pool twice. It did strike. The clip went everywhere. But some viral waves don't lift you, they drag you under. And when you resurface, whole lanes of the industry have closed behind you, quietly, permanently. Summer 2023, the twins picked a shortcut that wasn't a shortcut at all. They launched a joint OnlyFans and began teasing increasingly explicit content, each post calibrated to push the "can't look away" line a little further. Then came the clip nobody expected, and everyone talked about: the brothers kissing, intentionally provocative, engineered for maximum shock, and instantly viral. TMZ posted it. Reaction channels frothed. Timelines filled with a collective, "What did I just watch?" In pure reach terms, it worked. In career terms, it was a 4-alarm fire. You can't map scandal onto a music come-up and expect doors to stay open. Managers, promoters, artists all suddenly had an easy reason to pass. The stunt didn't just tarnish their image, it reclassified them from divisive artists to no-go liabilities. They tried to spin the reaction as strategy. We knew it would go viral, mission accomplished. But virality without direction is a hamster wheel. Lots of motion, no forward progress, and the internet's memory is long when it wants to be. Even fans who might have given the music a chance now had a mental file labeled "not serious," and once a brand sticks, it calcifies. Here's the deeper damage. The stunt confirmed fears industry folks already had from earlier incidents: the podcast walk-off, the club booze, the bristling at basic counsel. It said, "We'll do anything for a spike," which reads to gatekeepers as "we're going to make your job harder." There are examples of creators who've rehabbed an image after messy choices. But the rehab steps are always the same. Vanish for a bit, learn, return with a better product, accept smaller rooms, earn back trust. The twins did the opposite. More clips, more controversy, more attempts to ride outrage into opportunity. That equation can mint short-term cash. It cannot build a sustainable career. And the cruel irony is that by the end of 2023, the clip designed to save them had sealed off most of the routes they could have taken to survive 2024 and beyond. The last remaining lanes were the ones they'd avoided: humility, training, structure. They didn't take them. The next headlines weren't about records. They were about courtrooms. By mid-2023, the chaos migrated from timelines to police blotters. In May 2023, Kodiak Red was arrested in Broward County on a domestic battery allegation tied to an argument that escalated at an Airbnb. Local coverage documented the incident and his release from jail later that month. In 2024, additional run-ins followed. And in February 2025, Naples police announced a traffic stop that turned into serious charges: a tampered, altered serial number firearm and oxycodone possession without a prescription. Reports described the gun and the circumstances in granular detail. The mugshot made the rounds, and the Island Boys in court narrative hardened. Whatever daylight remained between their brand and their legal problems narrowed to a thin thread. The financial storyline, meanwhile, caught up with them in public ways. Claims from ex-associates about unpaid cuts, chatter about missed payments, and the unmistakable pattern of creators who lived at last year's rate with this year's revenue. Even fans who once laughed along started to sound tired. Not shocked, just done. The twins tried to maintain the illusion of wealth: cars, ice chains, luxury settings. Because online optics can buy time. But optics don't pay principal, and lenders don't accept views. When personal life crises surfaced, an infant's medical scare, family instability, the healthiest move would have been to drop the performance and take care of home. Instead, content kept coming, sparking accusations that tragedy had become a prop. That's the brutal bind of clout chasing. When your habit is post more, the algorithm doesn't care whether you're posting milestones or emergencies. Audiences do. At this stage, recovery requires two things. Most viral stars resist: stopping and listening. Stop feeding the fire. Listen to the few people still willing to be honest. Lawyers and managers can triage a lot, but they can't fix what clients keep breaking. After 2025's arrest coverage, whatever credibility remained with mainstream partners, labels, agents, promoters, was functionally gone. Any brand calculating risk would see a portfolio of red flags: volatility, legal exposure, and a press history that scares even the adventurous. Could a comeback exist someday? In theory, yes. In practice, it would require quiet growth, serviceable records, and a multi-year humility arc. Everything about the pattern so far points the other way. So where are they now, really? somewhere between nostalgia act and cautionary thread, recognizable enough to trigger a memory, but radioactive enough that few want to get close. The accounts still exist. The followings haven't vanished. A Cameo page sits there like a relic from a different internet, still a lever if someone wants to pull it. But bookings aren't just about followers. They're about comfort. Can a promoter trust you to show up and not set their venue on fire, figuratively or literally? Can a brand trust you not to turn a collab into a week-long PR crisis? Can another artist get in the studio without worrying the session will become a headline? Those questions have answers now, and they're not favorable. The durable path forward would look boring on purpose. Start small, release consistent music that's more song than stunt, play modest rooms, post less, practice more, and let people forget why they rolled their eyes. Boring is kryptonite when your identity is chaos. And yet, that's the work. 1 or 2 solid records wouldn't erase the past, but they would prove capacity, something most haters secretly respect. The odds are long. Not impossible, just long. The harder truth is that they already had multiple chances to choose that path. Right after the pool clip, right after the booze, right after Impaulsive, and each time they chose the short dopamine hit. Multiply that by 3 years, and you don't have a career. You have a compilation of moments. The Island Boys didn't. They proved a point nobody should want to prove. You can be the main character on Monday and an object lesson by Friday. Their names still trend sometimes. The clips still circulate sometimes. But the feed moved on, as it always does, and it didn't leave forwarding information. The Island Boys story isn't just about 2 brothers who flew too close to the meme. It's a blueprint of how viral oxygen can burn you if you treat it like air. They had the reach, the money, the interest, and, briefly, the goodwill to pivot into something stable. They chose speed over skill, shock over substance, and ego over advice. The internet rewarded them until it didn't, and when the music stopped, there were no chairs left. If there's a lesson here, it's simple. Attention is a coupon, not a currency. Redeem it fast, convert it into craft, and build something that doesn't evaporate when the comments turn. Otherwise, you're just borrowing fame from tomorrow, and tomorrow always asks for it back.